What's your record?
We are starting on time. That's the main success of this event, that we start on time. We seldom finish on time, but starting on time is important. I actually didn't meet Rasem at all. I read about him through a common friend of ours, Uda Kulterman, a German architectural critic and historian. He wrote a book which was a milestone book called Architecture in the Dritte Welt, Architecture of the Third World, and very popular book, where he introduced Rifat Çadırcı as the doyen of architecture in the Third World, and Muhammad Makia, and both from Iraq, and Rasem Badran, and Sumit Chumsai from Thailand, and Yasmin Lari from Pakistan, a long list of people.
Charles Correa also, Charles Correa.
And Charles Correa. Yeah. Charles Correa was even not that known, frankly. Yeah. And after setting that, when I took my position at the Aga Khan Award, that became one of the milestones of documents. And first thing I did, among the first things I did, I went to Amman and went through his housing project for the cement factory workers. It is a symphonic project in housing on a sort of slope land, and I admired him that he became one of the best supporters of the award. And with his project in Riyadh, Kasra Hukm, the Justice Palace, and the Plaza, and the Great Mosque of Saudi Arabia or Riyadh, he won the Aga Khan Award, and he served in the master jury of the award. And just recently, in a jury that I was in, we gave the Turgut Cansever Award to Rasem. And before we gave it to Rami Khoshla, you will remember he came and talked here. And this is another international accomplishment of the Antalya Kepes municipality. They followed the footsteps of Turgut Cansever as one of their leaders in architecture. And Rasem's architecture is very much conversant with what Turgut Cansever or Sedat Eldem in this country used to do. So now the word is with him, and I thank him very much for taking his time and a long ride from Antalya to here in a car, and here is Rasem Badran.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir, for your introduction. I want to make it short because sometimes I forget myself when I am talking, and he told me, don't talk too much because we have to eat, the dinner has to be going on. So I do my best to make it. Sometimes maybe the image talk from itself without explaining, but I will start. And thank you for giving me the chance to be with you, and hope that we can repeat it again in other occasions. So I will start now by. So this is a book which was published about my life. It's called Narratives on Place and People, People and Place, because there's a dish between man and place to projesi, so a narrative process. So this is a book which was published by James and Hanson, and this is actually the staircase of the project which Soha mentioned, the cement housing, cement worker housing. It's very unique, and it was actually submitted for the Arkan Award, but it didn't win the award. And opposite to it, in the back of it, is the housing in Beirut for a very prime location in Solidar. So I am comparing between the poor and the rich and in the same time. Now I have to say that all I think about my father, because my late father was one of the very significant artists in the Islamic world, and he is one of his kind. I mean, when he studied art in Cairo in the 20s, and then in the Royal College of Art in London in the 30s, and when he was graduated, they said that he is one of his kind in the way how he was an artist, a sculptor, and then also he put all his effort about Islamic art. So he has very typical, he's been well known through his artifacts. He has a very unusual freehand capability, the way. So he'll show you my father when he was in Cairo, student, and when he was in Jerusalem, 1928, and then in London when he was studying before the Second World War. I was watching him when I was a child, so I was so fond with the way how a paper becomes an event when he draws something. So I look at it, and I was 3 years old, and just watching, and I think this watching process has been influenced all my tools, how to express myself, instead of talking, drawing, making, and even the memory. Actually, I noticed that when I look to things, I go back to home and then I draw it from what I've memorized. So I think memory is a very important thing. Do we memorize things in our life? This is a question. Because architecture is part of this memory, which become, let's say, it's like layers of memories, and from that memories you create what they call the unexpected ideas about the intangible, and to transform to something tangible through architecture. Yeah, this is one of my drawing, because I was born in Jerusalem, this is my city, in 1945, my God, it's a long time. So I took, actually not the Dome of the Rock, I took just a corner from Jerusalem. I like the urbanity of that city. I drew it actually from memory. I was in Amman when I did this sketch. Now here I start my let's say my maneuver with the expression. When I was 4 years old, you can see how I tried to draw the upper sketches, show you the image. It's very small actually piece in watercolor. So I look to this bus who come once a week to our village, and then our home in the left side, in the right side. I go inside and try to draw it. This was when I was about 5 or 4 years, and suddenly when we moved from Ramallah or Jerusalem to Damascus as refugee, I moved from this intangible environment to something more physical: the streets, the roads, the cars. So I asked my father. This is actually the studio of my father in Damascus. I told him I want to draw it from inside. So he explained me how to deal with perspective. Within 2 minutes, I could find it because I was very worried how I can draw the room from inside by having the roof, the walls, and the underground. And then from here, I found myself as if I captured the word. It was intilafo, because explosion. So here I show you now series of sketches. This is in Tripoli when I was 10 years old. I went with my father to the market, and then we go back, and I try to draw what I have memorized, or some official events like when King Saud visited Tripoli in 1955. So I saw the event and then get back home and then try to. So it's a. And also, for the first time, I saw the Italian Fiat truck, the big trucks. So I tried to I was, I think, 55. I was 10 years old, just to make a section in that truck, a big machine, and try to explain it. I mean, how it works. I never thought about architecture actually. Here you will notice that most of my sketches show that I was thinking about something else, not about building, about technology, or the diesel train. I do a section from fantasy, and so I will.
A bit louder.
Yeah. So these are sketches when I was 10 years old. I do sections in the tracks, in the locomotive, in the diesel train, and then I start, building aeroplanes from cartoon, from inside, outside. I care for the details of when I was, I think, 12 years old, I think. And then I really built airplanes with remote control, with a one-piston engine in Tripoli. There was a big shop who sell all kinds of technology, because it served the American community who lived in Tripoli in that time, because they have the biggest air base in the Middle East. It was in Tripoli, so you have 5,000 American family living in that city, so they have to serve them. So this actually the Western technology, which I practice it, doing airplanes which flew, and hovercrafts, and etc. So, and also many battleships visited American Tripoli, and we used to go there and to visit the ship. And when I go back, I try to draw it. So and then I tried myself to create my own technology about hovercraft. So this actually when I was 15 years old, I think. I went through all details, and then here I want to tell you the story about how I dealt with the aeroplanes when I was maybe 6 years old and moving up. So 6, maybe 8 years old, and then 15 years old, and then 17 years old. So these are. So for me, it was the aeroplane till now. I will show you some sketches. The Airbus. I was in contact with Airbus industry to design some aeroplanes, but I found it takes time, and I enjoy it because I was busy with this bloody building, with the clients not paying our fees. I mean, it's a dilemma. And sometimes I try to design buses who transform take the passengers in the rainy time from the aeroplane. This is Boeing 707. Also, I draw it from because I got in love with this fluid forms. I mean, this aeronautic forms, and also giving the impression it's a rainy day, so you see the sky. This also aquarelles about I think this size. I mean. When we moved through my father's work when he was in the UNESCO, we had the challenge the luxury to go back to Damascus. So we moved sometimes through Rome, and I visited the terminal, railway terminal in Rome. This was, I think, 59 or 58. I got in love with the Italian train. I do it when I get back to Tripoli. I mean, so I go there, okay, and then try to document what I have seen in these trips. And sometimes I did my own, let's say, design about battleship in all its details. I was touched by the Titanic. So when I get back to home, I draw it. It took about 1 day. I mean, to draw how the ship was sinking. I mean, or in Venice, once I witnessed one of Beethoven's concert, an open air concert. I really got in love with the whole, and then I decided I couldn't find a way to study aeronautic design, because if I want to go to USA or England, I will not go back to home. I mean, I have to stay there and have to be American or British. So I decided to move from the airplane, from the flying object to the earth object. So I did an exam by myself, before I studied architecture, can I be an architect? So I designed an airport for Jerusalem. It's Dome of the Rock, and I give more time to build these the Havilland aeroplane than the airport itself. So I found that I can study architecture. I did my self-exam. Do I fit to be an architect or not? If not, then I don't need to study architecture. Maybe I have to go back to airplane design. And then I moved to Darmstadt. Darmstadt is one of the prominent university. You know Neufeld. Neufeld was my professor. He was. I witnessed his last year, and he told me always that the first book from Neufeld, it was drawn by students of Darmstadt. They drew all these objects in that time in 1962, 63. So Darmstadt is very, very important to talk about, but I think we have not enough. Now, I was lucky that I went to Germany. Why? Because I got fun with Beethoven. I got in love with Beethoven. So for me it was, I go to Beethoven's land. I don't want to ask to go to Harvard, MIT, Oxford. I found nonsense. I want to go to a place which produced Beethoven, Bach, Brahms. And I think I was fortunate because I witnessed the students' movement revolution, and I was part of it. So my work, not, I avoided to be in the political, let's say, movement. I went to the more professional one, more to the academic, more to the creative. So this was one of my work which I did in Germany. When I was students about the modern theater, I get in touch with Stockhausen, Giorgio Leghetti, and Karl-Heinz. So this was the movement of the deconstructionists in that time, in sound and art. I witnessed it in 1968 about, and this was published in a book. This work, it's called the mobile play space or theater of the future. And then the left side, they wrote some of the very famous musicians, Giorgio Leghetti, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen. So it was for the first time that during study time that a book was published officially by this T Verlag or T publisher house as violation against the university concepts. I mean, so this was actually a sign of violating the very long, very traditional, very boring concept of academia. This was anti-academia. So I was part of it, and they put my work because they found it was the best among other 5 colleagues. So this actually just showing you the sketches about this is a panoramic structure. So it's it can spread in the city. It can create. So here I talk about the public realm, I mean, which now become our today's let's say main topic about how we create public realm, how you make places. I mean, so this actually my work was part of this let's say inventive approach. Actually, we were all leftists. I mean, a bit hippie, long hair. I mean, it was a. When you see my picture in the past, you get mad. I mean, now I've become a bit yeah. So and when I did my diploma, I violated the academia rule. I don't follow their projects. I did my own projects from Kuwait, and I got what they call Ausgezeichnet or Ausvietnam in German, in English, yani, more than plus A. I mean, it was in the history of the university. It never happened. So this was actually my work. It was published by Ashtou Ujdoui. So for the first time that in a French magazine published the work of a student under the page of Actuel. Yeah, this was the work. It's city above the city. I mean, and when Yona Friedman came once, we been in contact with Yona Friedman, and he saw my work when I was doing the model. He told me, do that. I mean, I know that others will reject your work, but do and you will succeed. So it's and after 30 years, the same place. This was in Kuwait. Was announced for a competition. So we submit this proposal, and then I gave them a concept of building a city above the city. So you get a city with to deal with the climate, as if you are making cover for the city. So they told me are mad, so they don't accept it. But just to see how things happen after 40 years. Now in Germany also I have after I've been graduated and have this what they call it outstanding degree. I am part of the alumni club of notable alumni club in the university. They choose the most famous 80 architects, 80 graduates. I was one of them. Among them, there are two Nobel Prize, von Braun, who made the first racket. And so I will consider one of the very important figures in the history of my university, which was published in 1870. So this is actually one of the competitions which we participated in Germany, and we won the first prize, and it was built, but it was very costly. But I don't want to go to details because this needs actually a full lecture about how we, and this was actually the work which we did for the Olympic Stadium, dealing with kiosks and visitors services. It was manufactured in aeroplane industrial firm. This is very, very funny. So this is me. This is part of this because these are sandwich aluminium body. So they choose an aeroplane industrial plant in Germany, and now it's become part of the new architecture museum in Frankfurt. They put this as part of the history of it become it's being kept in the World Heritage now as a work. The whole stadium with all elements. Among them are these works, which we did. This was 1972. Yeah. Some people thought that this came from the moon because they are metal. I mean, for them it's very, very strange to have metal building, but we enjoy it. For me, it was the most enjoyable time. We spent 2 years, following up the construction and designing on site. And then I'd be asked by Dorma to check about the quality, about the design quality. They invited Henning Larsen and the French architect, the well-known French architect, I forgot his name, Jean Nouvel. So we met with Dorma, I think 10 years back, and we did some review about, and then they asked me, Rasem, why you don't design a door handle? I do it, and then they left it. Sometimes because our profession is so, sometimes you don't feel comfortable with the profession when you are responsible. You have to work, you have to earn money, you have to get your fees. So I need a peaceful time to think about something else, maybe. And I will show you just funny thing that these are some of what they call to be playful with yourself, to be some kind to be let's say joking with myself. So I remember I noticed that when I did this, we did a grand exhibition in Berlin when I was 60 years old in the Ministry of Foreign Ministry in Berlin. They housed in
the Museum of Architecture.
In the building of the Foreign Ministry in Berlin, they have a pavilion for exhibition. So they accept to invite us as a family. My father, myself, my daughter, my son, and my sister, and it was called the history of an Arab family among 100 years. And the German, when they looked to my sketches, some of them they wrote in the Frankfurt Allgemeine. This is a very important student. We witnessed the Arabic Leonardo da Vinci. They thought that my work is like Leonardo da Vinci because I covered everything. This is actually what Soha talked about the housing. This was 82, I think, in Amman. And then these are the houses which Jonah Friedman, Udo Kurtman presented in his book. These are in the 70s. These are the houses which I think, till now, when you look to that house, you think that's built today. It's 74. So it's about 50 years or 45 years. Also, these are the area of the period of 70. And then through this book, Rifat Jadirji get in touch with me, and then he invited me to participate in this competition for the Grand Mosque of Baghdad. He invited Scott Brown, Tofil, and Venturi Scott Brown, and the Japanese architect, and then the prominent Iraqi architects, and I won the first prize. Now here are some of my sketches, maybe 4 years back, about airplanes. I mean, still I am. This is 4 years old. I'm 2018, I think. Sometimes I could fit up with architects, so I go back to airplanes. I mean, and just to see, can I do something? Really, till this moment, sometimes it came to my mind at night. I go up and I draw it. Maybe I will move to airplane design, because it's. And Zahadi told me once, Rasem, you are dealing with this fluid. Why you don't? I told her, look, Zaha, I'm building for the people who are living in the earth, not in the flying. So okay, this was actually my answer to her. She smiled. So now I want to move to something which occupies my mind and profession about what they call humanizing urbanism. And here I was just looking to the. I'm a photographer. I photographed this from the airplane while I was moving from Riyadh to Amman. So I photographed the these like veins this in the Sahara, and the left one is the sand dunes. So I thought that veins, these are the roads, and sand dunes are the houses. So I put them all together, and then this was created. So somebody told me, okay, then we can build in the desert such cities, which complement with the nature of that. Not to move to this graded aeroplane runway system, which we see it in our cities. Like, I will. Okay, sure. Now I went back to the Earth Google. It gives me a lot of time. Sometimes I enjoy it, but you have to understand the what behind all this the knowledge you can get it. Instead of reading books, look to the Earth Google. How you can understand the history, how you can understand the different period of city evolutions, about the political, about the social, about the dictatorship in architecture, and then again some of my photographs from the airplane talking about this human interrelated concept of urbanity in the Sahara. And here, look, I mean, when you look to this, I took these pictures from the sky, the what they call the air, the aeroplane, what they call white smoke, you see it, and then our cities. So they are equal, as if you are creating. I mean, when you look at it, you get disappointed. So we are living in the most inhuman cities, and I think this master planner from Greeceland who spent all this concept everywhere in the Arab world, in Karachi, in Islamabad. So imagine that we are living in an aeroplane concept. It's shame. Again, when you talk about modernity, Mondrian and then Le Corbusier and what happens in Algiers, and then suddenly 2 days back, there was an exhibition, art exhibition. I like these images, and compare it with so the side and left, this is the most human. The one in the right is the most inhumane. Look. Container. We are living in the container. This in Cairo, this in Barcelona. The container. I mean, here you are producing. What kind of society you are producing in such dense? You are creating inhuman people. They don't feel. They don't think. They are hostile. Maybe Daesh can be created through this kind of hostile. So I am asking how to think about you. I mean, to live in this peaceful space. I mean, to feel. I showed you instead of talking too much. So I did some kind of comparison. This is in Tehran. This is done by a French in the time of Shah. This is the housing project in the left side, and this is Damascus. So there's a comparison between the linear and non-linear, the more organic, and when you transform it to a graphic, it looks like that. So the upper part is in Tehran. You look at it, okay, but the lower part, you give more time to discover it. What's happening in that? You know, I'm just to play with the sense. Now I am fortunate that I got in love with this informal housing or the in Egypt, and you find it everywhere in the Arab countries, in North Africa and in Saudi Arabia. So look, I mean, the informal housing, as if you are talking about the housing today, the very human, very it's interrelated, it's peaceful. So I thought that I have to do some work on that particular subject, how you can understand the informal to become really the wishingful housing, which we like to live in it, because it's very human. There's a modesty, there's a equality between people. You are not saying that here are the rich and here are the poor. They are all living in the same, and you then solve the problem of the violence in our society. Because, and I think this is a message which we have to take care about it when we think about urban. So I participated in a big competition in Cairo. They invited Foster and other two big firms, and I told my team, look, we will submit a losing project. So we worked on it, and I know we will lose it, because I know that the decision maker want something more like in the Gulf cities, like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, glass houses and high-rise building. So I enjoyed it very much, and till now people are talking about this kind of. So after we lose the competition, I start developing some elements, and many Egyptians told me, Rasem, come and try to, even artists and become friends. I mean, even actors. They told me, Rasem, why you don't do something? I mean, because what you did, it's great. I mean, this is Egypt, this is Cairo. So, yeah, just I mean. Go through the process about the how you can let rich and poor people getting together instead of making this separation between rich and I went there to this informal quarter, and I lived with them one day. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a big home. I mean, as if you are living in a big house. You rarely find this in the very westernized European, let's say, modern cities. Here people know each other. When they see anybody coming from outside, they receive him and they try to help them. And so I have friends from this informal housing. When they look to my sketches, so you got it, but the end result was totally different. Totally, I mean, typically we are repeating that system of this kind of materializing the cities. Now we move to something also else which I like in Yemen. I got in love with Yemen, although I haven't got any work project, because there's a problem in choosing the project. It's more under political influence. So, but I went through this endeavor and I enjoyed it so much. And the students, when I submit my work, they decide to take these sheets and to transform it to a book, which means part of the university library. So I told them, okay, I lost the competition, but it becomes a book for them to learn about the Sana'a architecture and the secret of. So I mean, till now, when you go to Yemen, I mean, Yemen is my God, it's a paradise. Mm. Yeah, we look for them.
Paradise lost.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then I've been invited also to big projects in Mecca. This is what we proposed for one of the mountains. There are two projects. But unfortunately, they have chosen something else, and they haven't published this work totally. But it was published in my book, because in my book it shows you how I look about Mecca, how I understood the past, and I try to find out from the past something which can last for the future time. And here I analyze the fabric of Mecca according to the social groups, to make this kind of micro community, and to create this kind of what they call it, network and pedestrian, like what today when we be walking in Bodrum, I enjoy it. So it's similar. I mean, you enjoy, you discover, you don't get bored with the. So it's even I went to the Mashrabiyya details. I mean, and because it didn't win, so then they don't want to publish, because if it was published, they will ask why we didn't get the first prize. So anyhow, I published my book, and in my book, many Western companies, they took this as reference how far they understood our culture. They refer to this book. I don't want to mention these big firms, but when you go to urban design, they took some caption of my book to say that okay, this is the way how we understood your culture and your reality. This was another project which we wanted, but as also another facing Mecca. It's like what they call it, like veins, you know, and I compare it with an old Algerian village, but it was not built because the holy Mecca was being expanded, so all the mountain being destroyed, so it's no more there. Yeah, this is another. Now I go back now to Riyadh, to my history with Riyadh. As I told you, when I won the award of the Baghdad Mosque, it was published in many magazines worldwide, and one of these magazines fell in the hand of the authority in Riyadh. So when they saw my name, they invited me to because I never thought to go to Saudi Arabia. It was never in my agenda to be there. And from 1985 till now, I've been occupied with the same client, doing very interesting work, very promising, and people understood the merits of that, what we did. So this is a mosque in Riyadh. It won the Arkan Award 1995. So I just want to transform how I read the message which been seen in this mosque, which was built 1912, I think it was in mud. I try to transform the image to something physical. It was not mentioned in the mosque that you have to be, it was only a mosque. It was not mentioned to do any kind of any other supporting service. So I violated the competition. I told them, okay, I want to add that and that and that. And the client, he was so clever, the Riyadh authority, which was founded by King Salman. He is now the king. He was in that time the Prince of Riyadh, and they told me, Rasem, you capture it, because they invited also many big architects, the same names who been invited for the Baghdad Mosque, but they built something monumental. So when they looked to my mosque, they told me, you have never lived in Saudi Arabia, but you understand the secret of that land. I visited for 5 days. It was too hot, and I was so impressed. And then I started talking about the mosque as a city, not the mosque as a mosque. And that's why it won the Arkan Award. And here, a lot of sketches. Till now, some people send me photos about how these the functions which are surrounding the mosque, how being utilized. It's very funny. And it becomes like a place to photograph it. So I was happy that this became actually some kind of story. I gave them a story which being in continuous evolution, how they comprehend the meaning of that urban context. So these are the sketches which I do it inside, and very important thing I have to mention that this building here, maybe I got later to it. This actually this skin. So the mosque become a living city, not just a mosque with a dome with all kind of. And this we're talking about the lighting. People got love with the lighting, and sometimes people talk me, why don't put in because it's like sundial to put on these strips the times, because the sun moves from left to right. So I told them it's a good idea to transform these strips to become a sundial, talking about printing the time of midday and after. You know, people have used their fantasy. They become more and more interactive with the concept, which I did through lighting. And even the plazas, Stefani Beko was in that time also part of the advisory committee of the authority. Now it's the Riyad, the Royal Authority for Riyadh. The plaza become very essential. I mean, and I compare it with the Morocco and the public space. You go inside the city, and then you can buy something. You can spend some time, and then even people become so happy because it's even we added some seating arrangement in the Justice Palace, which has never happened in such official building. And the Justice Palace is attached to the mosque. It's the ruling, let's say, building. It solves the all kinds of people's matters. I mean, if you have anything to ask, you go to the Amir and he solves you. So King Salman was in that time the Prince of Riyadh, and this become actually this building become very important because they decide to put the image of that building in the new Saudi banknote. You can see it here. So this has never happened in the Arab world, that a contemporary building being printed in the banknote of any country. So I feel myself that as if this work become has documented for forever. I mean, it's yeah, this building here. This was for me a big surprise that they choose this. Now the other building, the other side is also culturally oriented. It has to do with the history of the founding of the Saudi Arabia, which been transformed to King Abdulaziz Historic Center, which been awarded the International Award for Livable Communities. An American award. It has got the best mark worldwide. So I'm proud that this work being also appreciated by other awards. And we did actually through it workshops through my son, and actually this is actually a big project that needs actually a whole lecture about how we talk about to humanize the image of the museum to become a city. So people when go there, they won't go to the museum. They go to enjoy the public space and the different garden concept and so this was actually the idea how to create how to create inside the city another city instead of having a block. So here I talk about the pedestrian trail with its different environmental surprises. Here I'm comparing the work which we did at that time with the work which we submitted for the Doha Museum for Islamic Art. Soha was in that time. You arranged the organizer, yeah, and we won with South Korea. We've been equal. We won the first prize. Soha was also participating, but she didn't get any award. Also, Richard Georges, he is a very nice guy. He told me, Rasem, you will win when he looked to the model. But it was never built because they want something else. Now, the last work which we did in Riyadh, which I submitted also for the Akhir Award, but it was not shortlisted, I don't know why. It's very important. It's about to develop a whole place culturally and entertainment and for handicrafts, and then it ends up by let's say by a hub or by institutional building to do with Islamic art and Islamic history, and then this building being done occupied by the Ministry of Culture. So it becomes the Ministry of Culture. The idea was to build such building in front of a very well-known World Heritage Site. It's the biggest mud city in the world. I mean, it tells the story of the Saudi family foundation. So I saw that this building become so hostile. So what we decide to borrow it. So it becomes like a ramp building. So when you are inside, as if you are seeing another city in front of you. So, and people walk in these roofs, and then they watch the city. They can enjoy the light and sound program at night when they have national festival occasions. And it's fully occupied with people. And underneath it is the Ministry of Culture, which is ruled by a very important prince. So imagine that you have a prince underneath you, and then you are on the top of it. So I submitted for the Arcana Award, and they told me, no, you so I feel sorry that I have to not to submit again because it has a lot of meaning. I mean, when you have a building which is contextually very sensitive, and because of that building, the whole area becomes very important. So this is actually the building itself. It disappeared. It's a three floor high building. It responds. It talks, or let's say, we communicate with this opposite situated mud city, which is now being renovated and become a living museum, and it's become also the gate for the city, for this museum. So you go through it to reach the. So that's the poster about the whole project, and then my friend. Henning Larsen did something similar, but it was later than my work. I started in 2006. His work started in 2010. And Rasem, he told me, you know, Rasem, we have the same soul. I mean, I do in Denmark the same. You did in Riyadh the same. So, but in different contexts, you know. And so it's we became friends, but he passed away. I mean, I haven't the joy to visit him. I visited him once, but he was really one to me that we get together and to talk about how we get to these ideas, although we have never seen each other. I mean, and with a time span, because I started 2006 with the idea, and he started with his idea 2010. So it's funny sometimes how you become more global, not just to. So this is actually the building. Now what happens actually? After the whole area becomes so full with people, the administration decided to destroy, to take out all these facilities, supporting facilities, and to ask for a new city. I hope that it will not disturb this building. I mean, so here, these are the backside of it. So people walk. It has a very nice landscape. Here you can see the old city. It's very modern, very contemporary, and for me it was really a shock when I just 2 days back I heard that it was not shortlisted. Another building is the governor of the area. We did it 3 years back. It's a glass block. It's been mounted by a screen wall to protect the glass from the sun. Okay, it's a trend, but I will not say that I will go for it. But people like it because these triangles become like a shadow. I mean, it's not a regular. It depends what comes behind it. If you have offices or you have storage area. And then I moved to something in that near to my work, which I saw it now. to develop the Diriyah Gate. Maybe this become worldwide well known because they invited world firms like Forster, Atkins, and they asked first of all us to do something for that place, and then it's about 3 kilometers long by 1 kilometer width, and we try to apply the idea of this kind of the desert morphology to create a city which has you see. So I enjoy this kind of organic, non-linear, but it ends up in big sorrow by giving the work for a firm. I don't want to name it. It's very well known, and they did what they have done. I mean, it's not. I don't want to. Again, I was invited to many big competitions. It has to do with the Saudi Vision 2030, but by the rules of this competition, you are not allowed to publish it unless the client allow you. Now here I took the chance just to show you a project which we did for a mosque in Riyadh. I will not tell you the location of it. It is in the garden setup. I tried to create the Riyadh with its hills, and this mosque become part of a hilly structure. So they like it, but they don't like the garden because it was with a garden. They want Andalusian garden. I told them, okay, I want to make a desert garden. So this is a problem sometimes with the Jewish. Sometimes they invite Western guys, and then they want to say, and when they put this competition, they put my work as reference. I mean, this is very important. In the brief, they take captions of my work. Okay, I'm doing my work now. I have something else I want to improve the ideas of. But actually, so this is the first time I show it now. I have other works, but they are mad, but I can't show it now. I mean, maybe.
That's our privilege. We will not tell anyone.
Here the mosque. The mosque become part of a hilly. I try to get back to the hilly nature of Riyadh. And here I draw it by my Samsung here. This is my Samsung mobile. So, and in that mosque, I created inside garden. So the garden become inside the mosque, small garden. It give you fresh air and give you light. And they like it, because it has never happened that you have gardens inside the mosque.
No.
But I lost the competition because the garden become, they want something Andalusian. They become, I proposed them something more related to the Sahara. So, yeah, these are the sketches which I was trying to. Sorry that it was not built. I mean, it's different than the mosque in Riyadh. I mean, but it has to do with the Najdi architecture, with the desert architecture. And then I did some kind of a competition, parametric design by hand, not by computer. It's a small village in Dubai. We won it, but it was never built. And then I come to my son, because my son studied in the Bartlett, and he has his own office, and sometimes we work together. So we worked in something very important in the United Arab Emirates called the Riviera village. It's located on the coastal, in the Persian Gulf. So we tried to, this was the Western approach. They invite us to design the villas. I told them, oh, before I design the villa, I have to feel myself, let's say, in peace with the context. So we have to change the fabric itself. And I was surprised that they listened to me. So we showed them a concept how we make a story when you go, when you move from the desert to the coastal line, to the core line. They like this narrative, and then they ask us, okay, can we change? They have changed. They asked the English firm to change the master plan, and they asked me to draw it by hand. So I did some story about how you have land, and then you have the river, and then you have quartiers, and it was published in the city scape in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. It was one of the most popular television about that project. I don't know if they will build it, but my son was very, he worked it very effectively. And here we're talking about public dream. You know, here we spend weeks how you design, not the house, the outside the house, how to design the other home, the big home. Because, you know, when you talk about the house, okay, you design this apartment building, this becomes your own house, but how we can design the big house, the city, with all its corridors, transformations, majaz, you know, and we enjoy it, and we change, and the client become, he forgot about the time of submissions. He told me, okay, let's say, give us more if you have more, because they found it, and they told me, although they are very influential, they are son of the founder of the UAE. He told me we got fed up with Dubai, Abu Dhabi. We want something more human. You feel it, like today when we walked in Bodrum, you feel yourself. You have small community around you. So here we are trying to design this community feeling. And really, the work was exhibited in Cityscape in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. It was really one of the most prominent places where people go there and try to understand the new cities which become more humanized, more modest, more with feeling. Yeah, and my son did a tower building in Riyadh. It's a vertical city. This is actually the computer model, and this is the steps now. And I think this will become now very, top of the city, because they for the first time they found a building become like a city, not a box, not a perfume glass, what do you call it, a container. Because I did sketches about perfume, and people told me don't show it too much because you will lose your clients. So that's why I wish I can show it to you, but anyhow. So this actually now still maybe in half a year it become more finished. Sometimes people stop the car to look at it. I mean, because you build many houses, many towers, but nobody will stop in front of a house because there's no questions. Here to get a narrative story. Here are the gardens. These are hanging gardens to be full with green. So it become a living tower, not just a container, not just also, my son did something in Karachi. It was a time, I think this was 2008, but nothing happened after that. Just showing you and then maybe one of the work which I proud that my son did it, and I worked with them a bit. They invite us to design the Museum of Archaeology, and it was the story of that museum that Mohammed bin Rashid, who founded Dubai, he was flying with his helicopter, and he has an archaeological expert from France, who has a very good feeling about what's under the earth, what's going on. So he told him that there's a very strange earth biome here, sand dunes. Let's go there and try to. They found a lot of artifacts, maybe 5,000 years old. So the story, how to find the artifacts underneath the sand dune, this was the idea of this museum. So we created some kind of sand dunes, and kids at night, when you go above this roof, when it's closed, we open some let's say windows, so people can look inside a programmed artifacts concept at night for kids. So the idea of you have from the land side these roofs, which we did it in the Riyadh work with this Ministry of Culture, and then it ends up by ships, because it has to do with the so it has two phases. From the seaside you see ships, from the other side you see so it's part of a story that these artifacts came through ships. We won the prize, But unfortunately, the decision was to give it for a name which I don't want to mention. I think he is very well known, but even people get sad when they knew that why this project can have a chance to be realized and to be built. And I enter by that's with the two images about my father's work. I asked my father always, what is the concept behind this calligraphy? He told me the balance between the mass and the background. So I was comparing the sketch. This is the extension which was being asked to do provision about the future extension of Prophet Muhammad Mosque. Instead of building a building which is 900 meter long, we tried to create a city. And it stopped by this concept, but nothing happened now. But I think just I want to put these in comparison about the balance between the mass and void. And I think this is finished. I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So
Yes, wonderful, but I would like to ask him.
yeah, I will leave him to you,
Yeah, just
and
one minute.
I will also leave the audience for pizzas as well. So the preference is any one of you. Rasem, this is a memento of the of your presence here.
Thank you.
I thank for all of us that for your time. You are very generous, and
Yes.
we love you. Yes.
Yes, I would suggest something. Your lecture was just wonderful. You know that I'm blind. I saw your mosque, I saw your spaces, I saw your gardens, I saw your buildings. It was just wonderful. So, in fact, your lecture and also your whole life, from the sculptures of your father until today, what you are doing, it is, you can summon it in just one word, and it is space.
Yeah.
Everything is space. Architecture, architecture, sculpture, because a sculpture is a volume in space.
Yeah.
Good title for your book.
Yes.
For the next book.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I learned so much from you.
You know, I try to be very, very quick because sometimes I spend maybe more another half an hour to get each story, because each one has a story. I mean, each of these buildings are images. But thank you that you get patient that you
Yes.
listen to it, and I hope that I would like to make also other lectures, because you know, so I like the community here, and
Yeah.
I think we can do in the coming future when.
But come back to Bodrum.
Yes, I will come back.
Okay.
Actually, he couldn't see Bodrum well.
Well,
He
then
just
I invite
went
you to my house also.
along the shore,
Yeah.
and he hasn't
I will
seen.
come with my wife. Because she's
Yeah.
Okay.
Hosam, his wife, is a very accomplished philosopher and an author,
Yeah.
and she writes about the cities. And probably next time she will talk to us.
Oh,
Yes.
wonderful. Yeah, wonderful program. Thank you so hard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And which they were, of course,